Good morning. Your SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by our friends at Superior. Superior Foundation for all your foundation repairs. Superior.ms. They can do driveways, cracked parking lots, drive-throughs, banks, fast food restaurants. They can do it after hours, powered by Superior Foundation. So whether it's your home, your driveway, your pool deck, your bank drive-through, you don't want your clients having to feel like they're going into 17 potholes. Powered by Superior. Superior.ms, Superior Foundation. So they can do residential and commercial. Madison, Rankin, Hines County, Superior Foundation for all your foundation repairs. Hey, look, congratulations to our baseball teams. Winning is better than losing. This is a marathon, not a sprint. I think you're seeing some good things. I think you're also seeing, some areas that have to improve. Mississippi State, I think both coaches are on the hot seat. I actually think Ole Miss, if Bianco doesn't make the postseason, I think that they'll move on. We know what will happen in Starkville. You hope that they've got these teams that can win 14 to 15 SEC games. And all you have to do is get in a regional. I'll ask our listeners on the Ag Up Equipment text line, 601-885-3776. What do you think about the teams so far? Are you ready to make a read on what they are? Do you think, and that's fine. I mean, I want to hear, do you think, we're a regional team? Or we're not? Or do you think, man, we're really close to me calling it as a super regional team? Or even a team that could put themselves in the College World Series. Throw Southern Miss in too. To me, you got to play more games. And you got to get into conference play. Yeah. Maybe because I've been watching it for so long. Some of the early losses I think are still a concern. They'll still be there in the end. You can overcome them, but it's pretty difficult. It's still going to come down the mound and situational timely hitting. That's it. I don't know. I need to see more. Not this weekend, but next is SEC play. Are you ready to call it, Jason, for any of these teams?
Well, I wanted to ask you, are you feeling the effects of Justin Parker? Because people were talking about that's the biggest move that State made in the offseason was Justin Parker. Are you feeling those effects yet? Because people talk about how some players look better. Cal looks good, Nate looks good. But is he making a difference yet, or do we have to give him time? Or
he's made a difference. Look, they had nowhere to go but up.
Right.
They were awful.
Yeah.
On the mound. It's kind of like LSU on defense in football. That's hard to wrap your brain around, that unit could be that bad, considering who they are. It's hard to wrap your brain around the fact that Mississippi State could be that bad on the mound. But do I think Justin Parker's had a positive impact? Absolutely. I mean, am I ready to, I don't want to get carried away. I'm just not that guy. I know there are other hosts for both Mississippi State or other teams who get very hot and bothered and paint a picture of, Skittles and sunshine and people dancing in the clouds. And so it's just not, I'm not totally pessimistic. How much flair, muscle, electricity do these two teams have? I got to see some more. They beat teams they were supposed to beat this weekend.
Right.
What is that? Am I supposed to come on and do a monologue about how great that is?
I mean, is there a leader? Have you found one?
Mershon, well, so it's interesting what you're scratching around as far as Ole Miss's batting lineup and then Mississippi State's. Mississippi State has lacked. They had such alpha leaders for so long. Adam Frazier, Hunter Renfroe, Jake Mangum, Tanner. We've gone through all of them. They haven't had one. Even Elijah McNamee had like all this dude in him. He couldn't even He couldn't even get any pub.
Yeah.
There's too much star power in front of him. But he had dog in him. I mean, he's from rural Texas, went to Juke. I mean, just had to. Everybody told him he couldn't do it. You'll never play. You'll never play at this level. You're not good enough. You don't look like what we want to see a prototypical Ole Miss, Mississippi State star.
Mm-hmm.
Look like Jacob Gonzalez.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Look like Hunter Renfrow. I mean, just. Look, Mershawn's emergence in the lineup is huge. Okay? He's got dude qualities. Do you want to pick somebody from the Ole Miss lineup? I'll be interested to see which way you go.
I'm kind of.
Or two.
And look, and you talked about it. You can't really make an assessment yet. But I like what I'm seeing from Jackson Ross. We do need a heavy hitter.
No doubt. And Bianco mentioned him when we interviewed him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fair. I mean, the guy's very talented, and he could be the guy.
Yeah.
He could be the guy that those, but we'll see. We talk about the lineup, though. You just got to have a lot of dudes on the mound to get through this league. 30 games. Can Ole Miss win 14? Plus, if you can win more, great. Mississippi State, 30 SEC games. Can you win 14? That's what it comes down to. Friday night,
right.
7th, 8th, 9th inning, 3-2, 4-3 game. Who do you have?
Yeah.
Who do you have? And they may have. I'm not saying. Look, there's talent on the rosters at Oxford and Starkville. That's not what But I'm in a real big show me state.
Yeah.
Some people may not like that. The Out of Bounds show is driven by your next John Deere tractor at Ag Up Equipment in Canton, Pearl, and the 18 other locations. AgUp.com, John Deere, America's tractor. You got to manage your family land, your farm, and your hunting camp. 50, 80, 150 acres. Ag Up Equipment. The text line, 601-885-3776. Are there some kids playing well? Yes. But it gets real in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And you look good right now on the mound. You look good right now at the plate. But how you going to look good when you're facing MLB dudes left and right? Guys that we know how many dozens and dozens and dozens of players are Mississippi State and Ole Miss going to face, Jason, over a 10-week stretch that are at least going to play Double-A? And don't poo-poo on Double-A. Getting to Double-A baseball is nothing short of remarkable. How many Double-A players do we have in the Southeastern Conference? They're not a dime a dozen, but they're close.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the two teams that Ole Miss and Mississippi State open up conference play with, South Carolina and LSU. How many Double-A players are on that? Or shoot, even MLB players. You never know.
But if you take the 30 games as a whole and the 10 series, the 10 teams you play, think about how many minor league, some Major League Baseball players you're going to face. So my question is, when it's a 1-2 count in the 8th inning, can you put it in play? When it's a 2-1 count and you're on the mound, you're wearing red and blue or maroon and white, 2-1 count, 8th inning, can you find 2 more strikes? Or can you get the guy to pop out or ground out?
Right.
Those are the things. I mean, it sounds corny. That's what John Cohen just ingrained in me.
Yeah.
That's all he would ever say. Can you play in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning on Friday night? That's cute and sweet and fun on Tuesday or these preseason non-conference series. That's great. They recruit, Bianco and Lamonis recruit players to make plays in the 8th inning on Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're down 2-1, no, I'm talking about pitch count. But the game is 4-4 in the 8th on Friday night. And the guy at the plate is damn for sure going to play Double-A baseball. Maybe MLB. Let me ask you this. Do you have the dudes that have the ability to find the swing and miss or get them out in some way, shape, or form? Maybe you do. I hope you do. But I got to see it. So that's my deal. I know they have talent in both spots, but do you have enough?
Mm-hmm. Well, who's your old reliable? I feel like that's what both teams usually have, is that one old reliable pitcher. It's like, well, at least we have, Hunter Elliott. At least we have Mallets might be the old reliable for Ole Miss this year, but you don't know.
Sure.
Saunier might be the old reliable.
Saunier, he looked fantastic over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But
you don't know who that is.
well, I know there's arm talent on both squads. I just don't know to what level. And can you sit people down on Fridays and Saturdays? Sundays are kind of a sometimes a crapshoot in our league.
Right.
Just depending on what all you've had to grind through in your bullpen on Friday and Saturday. And what you have left. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. But I'm also going to be in the trenches in March Madness. We'll see what Chris Jans is going to do this week. Wednesday is big. Mississippi State at Texas A&M. Jason has some Chris Jans audio for us, as Jan says Auburn loss is partly due to changing defense in the first half. This is the dentist talking about his team as they have 2 more regular season games.
But I told them the truth. We always tell them the truth, and that was the truth, that they took the fight to us. And, that can't be the case, that the way our team is put together and the way our roster is constructed. And I got to take some of the blame. We've been playing a certain ball screen coverage the last 2 or 3 games prior to this one, and we actually switched it back to how we played against Auburn when we beat them at home, and it wasn't as aggressive. And they took advantage of it in the second half. We switched to what we'd been doing recently to be more aggressive, and that helped us on defense as well.
I can't blame. Look, you're always tinkering. He's trying to find a way. Look, the better team won. You were going to have to play out of your mind. I did think they looked a little lethargic. They're definitely like the rhythm that they wanted. Tolu's got to play more physical. Y'all are tired of me telling you that. But if you want to win an NCAA tournament game for the first time since Stansbury, because Rick Ray never went and Howland got bounced in the first round and Jans lost last year to Pitt. Howland lost to Liberty 6, 7, well, it wasn't that long. Everything runs together. 4, 5, 6 years ago. I'm not paying. I didn't expect them to win. And I didn't expect them to cover. And they didn't. So I still like the team. I love that you have an elite shooter going into March. You haven't had that in – have you really ever had an elite Darrell Wilson was special, and I recognize that. It's not – Winsome Frazier was not an elite shooter, so please don't send me that. I see those on the text line over the years. You have an elite shooter, and you have some dudes down low that will get after it. My question is Tolu Smith willing to play physical basketball, Jason? And who else will show up? I can tell you this, though. It's not a team you want to mess with in the tournament. They're mean. They're nasty. They've got some matchup problems for most. Doesn't mean that they can't get bounced if they make it. But DJ Jeffries on the perimeter, an elite shooter like Josh Hubbard, Cam Matthews can do a little bit of it. He's perfect. He's exactly what you want in college basketball today. Again, although he should be better on the offensive end. And then Tolu Smith. Is Tolu willing to play physical? Auburn brought the fight to him in the game, and he didn't like it.
Not at all. But also, and we talked about how Jans is Mr.
Broome
Wait and
is
See.
a physical player. They've got others. Go ahead.
I was just saying, how we talked about how Jans is now like a Mr. Wait and See. At 2 seasons, last year, what was it, 2-7 in conference play, and then ended up making the tournament? Was that the record for state last year? It was started in conference play
they were terrible.
Yeah.
0-7, 1-7.
Right.
And then, Jans ripped off all those wins, which was one of the most impressive runs in the history of this state, especially considering they didn't have Josh Hubbard.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even have a. So I'm calling Josh. He's an elite scorer and an elite shooter. Okay. And that's what it takes, man. Outside the 3-point line. They didn't even have a solid shooter. last year and somehow made it.
Wow.
I still don't see how they beat Florida in the SEC, but they did. Anyway, go ahead. What were you asking me?
Yeah, so I was just wondering, is it still kind of be patient with this team? They're going to play how they need to, to get into the tournament, or is it
I'm
like
not panicking.
we're allowed to
No,
ask questions?
Well, you always ask questions. I think they've done an unbelievable job considering Tolu missed 14 games and Murphy missed over 12. I think when you take the season as a whole, it is unbelievable that they're in this position. I don't think State fans really, because we don't do that. We're irrational. I am, you are, we're fans.
Yeah,
We're irrational. I don't think State fans, because we don't want to do that. We don't want to step back and go, hang on, we don't have two good players for a big chunk of the season, Murphy and Tolu. What Jans is, would I like for him to do some other things on offense? Yes. Would I like for two of his three assistants, Anwar and Miller, to actually recruit? Yes. But if I look at there's a lot of flaws in lineups around the country, around this conference.
Yeah.
Hubbard is fantastic. DJ Jeffries brings something to the table. Cam is filthy. And Murphy is very talented. And then Tolu can play. I think he's peaked. He can play, but I want him to be more physical. And they are begging him to be. It is a team that could really mess with somebody on Thursday. You may have to play a play-in game. I don't know. But if you get to Thursday or Friday of the two maybe greatest days of sports on the calendar year, if you get to Thursday or Friday, this team could really screw you up. Because you know what else they can do? They can shut you down for 5 and 6 minutes intervals at a time, Jason, without scoring. And they can make your life miserable if they get the right matchup. Some people can shoot it on them, but they have proven. And their defense travels. Yes. They're better. I take Saturday out. I'm taking the year as a whole. I don't want to go. Fans go one game at a time. As a whole, you take what they've done. Do you realize that their defensive scoring efficiency is way better on the road? Don't forget they were 6-0 on a neutral court. You don't just wake up and do that in college basketball.
No.
So, not tomorrow. Ole Miss plays tomorrow. Wednesday. Ole Miss will go to Athens this week. Mississippi State goes to College Station. But as Jan said, you want to be playing meaningful games. And these two, this is why you play. I think people are like, oh, we got to win to get it. Dude, there's a ton of teams that have to win to get in. It's part of it.
Yeah.
Only a few teams are in. So this is what it's all about. You're in the arena. You're in the thick of it. These games matter. Every possession in College Station and at the hump this week will matter. That's good. It'll be great for irrational fans in this show. All right, that was hardcore sports. Maybe a little too much this morning. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Did you go to the Briar Patch over the weekend?
I did. I went Saturday night. It was kind of bumping. Went in there. Hadn't been in the Briar Patch in a while. Since summer, actually. So went in, met with some friends. We got the charcuterie board, which, by the way, have you had, I think it's called the Briar Patch board. It's like their biggest one.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. I mean,
it's
5 different types of cheeses. They had house-made, pimento cheese, a whipped smoked tuna dip. I mean, it was phenomenal. And they were making great drinks, too. Miranda had, a nice French 76, something light. But it was a good crowd. It wasn't too loud. Great live music. It's a good weekend.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Another spot that we're lucky to have. And we've got really cool things in the metro area. And I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, their charcuterie board is the Kansas City Chiefs.
It's elite.
It is. It is.
I mean, and
or
women.
Kentucky's 3-point shooting this year.
Right.
Holy Mary Olzab. What are they doing?
I mean, there's some, Miranda's kind of like a charcuterie board snob because she makes a really good one. So when you can impress her with charcuterie boards, you've done something.
I'm with you. Look, their food is underrated, but just the whole decor and bar scene, it's right up. Again, I say it all the time. It's a combination of Charleston, South Carolina, New Orleans, and the Delta. and that's a good combo. Brian and JC have done a great job. So glad that you enjoyed that. It was a really fun weekend. New Orleans was amazing, and once the rain got out of there, it was good. But Merrill at lunch in New Orleans on Friday, my goodness, the gumbo. We ordered some Korean wings for an appetizer and a flatbread.
Ooh,
good heavens, it was good. And the beverages were flowing. Had a great waitress. She was fun and funny, and attractive, which doesn't hurt. And the place was bumping. You know what I'm saying? It was Friday in New Orleans. They don't go back to work on. So my first job out of grad school was a company out of Baton Rouge.
okay.
And so I didn't really get the whole deal. And so I spent 100 nights down there. Okay. Because
Right.
we were working on different things. And you would go to lunch on Friday. One of the first times we had worked Wednesday and Thursday. We had a ton of work in New Orleans and in the warehouse district, actually, which was cool for me. Because like in 2001, I didn't know the warehouse district. Cool. And so we went to lunch with all these people, clients, whatever. And then all of a sudden, the guy I was working for ordered drinks.
At
I was
lunch?
like, what's going on here? 3 hours later, we're still at lunch with everybody. And nobody goes back to work.
Wow.
So Merrill was bumping in New Orleans, and you could feel it. Good-looking people around us. That would not be me. But, man, it was a cool vibe. The weekend had started, and people that are grabbing a late lunch in New Orleans are not worried about what they're doing in a couple hours, which is great.
Well, it's like in Spain they have a siesta, and in New Orleans they day drink.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's normal.
Yeah. Everybody.
And they were. I mean, I'm talking about there were bottles of wine on. I mean, they don't.
Wow.
And there were people ordering old fashions, fun craft cocktails. There was wine on table. They're having a good time. And then all of a sudden we end up at the Pelicans game eating lobster. I'm like, what am I doing? But it was awesome. Wow, we've got a text on Ole Miss and Mississippi State baseball. Both are in trouble.
Ugh. Meltdown Monday?
Nah, not yet. Let's give it a couple of weeks. Man, we got March Madness around the corner. I cannot wait. What's that dip thing we're doing?
Oh, the March Madness dip-off. Bringing in, we're going to have a couple dips, and we're going to see who's the winner. The best dip around.
So that'll be a night at the Golden Moon, 2 rounds of golf at Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, $100 cash, and we'll throw in, another $100 in gift certificates and some other things. So we'll talk more about that straight ahead. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're brought to you by Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center.